And we're continuing our conversation with Virginia Delegate Danica Roem. So fast forward to now, what was your reaction when President Biden signed the executive order to allow transgender people to enlist and serve again? You know, the challenges that were immediately removed just with the president's signature.
Sure. So my reaction when President Biden actually rescinded that policy in the first place was good. He made good on his campaign promises, and he made good on, his commitment to the LGBTQ community. And look, I know, I'm in a different position than a lot of other state legislators, in that not only have I met him on multiple occasions, but I have a very personal story with that. And, when I guess this was in 2015, so this was, still well before I ran for office. And after the now president's son died, when President Biden was still Vice President Biden, when he was still in office, his son was the Attorney General of Delaware, and and Beau died. I drove out from here to Dover, and the state capital in Delaware, to pay my respects to Beau, because Beau had fought and he helped pass, when he was Attorney General through the state legislature, a trans rights bill that, given the time around 2012, 2013, that was very, it was very unusual for state legislators to be, really considering trans rights bills. I've always said for years that trans rights are a lagging indicator of gay rights. And in this case, it was because, my friend Sarah McBride, who's now state senator, she had fought for it, and Beau was right there with her. So they got that bill passed well before it was invoked to do it. I mean, we only got our non-discrimination bills for trans people passed in Virginia last year, and we had a majority to do it. So when I drove out there, I think I stood in line for a few hours, and, I met then Vice President Biden, standing next to his son's flag-draped casket. I genuflected at the casket, and I told, then Vice President Biden that when Beau was fighting for trans people in Delaware, he was even fighting for people like me, even as someone who's from Virginia. And at that point, Joe Biden was so tired. He'd been there just all day, and his eyes were like, half masked. And he put his hands on my shoulders, and he looks me in the eye, and he goes, "We mean that. We mean that." He then brought me in for a hug. He kissed the back of my hand. And in that moment, I was seeing the sitting vice president of the United States telling a trans woman that her rights matter and that he really does care.
And being a voice for the transgender community, which you are a role model, what do you want to see happen next? Reversing it is just one part, but what do you think actually needs to happen, whether it's care costs or transgender people openly stepping into leadership roles?
The most important thing that we can get from the federal government right now is passage of the Federal Equality Act. We hope that we have the votes in the House and the Senate to do it now, and that we know that, President Biden has already indicated that he's fully on board. And in the event that there's a 50-50 tie in the Senate for any reason, we know that Vice President Harris is committed to breaking that tie in favor of the Equality Act. So that is definitely priority number one. We showed the country what our values are here in the Commonwealth last year when we passed the Virginia Values Act, which not only, bans discrimination on account of, sexual orientation, gender identity, but also, by the way, veteran status as well, which, kind of has a nice tie into the military theme of the interview today. But what I would show anyone is look at how many pro-LGBTQ bills we were able to pass last year. And just this morning in the House Courts of Justice Criminal Subcommittee, on a 6-2 bipartisan vote, we were able to advance my bill to ban the anti-gay, anti-trans panic defense, which is another thing that, we can signal to LGBTQ people across the country that we can't just be killed and people get away with it just because of our gender identity and sexual orientation. And you know who actually testified for my bill today? Judy Shepard, mother of Matthew Shepard.
Oh, wow.
I was a 14-year-old freshman in high school when Matthew Shepard was killed. And I remember how scared I was to tell anyone about who I knew myself to be. And that his death just reinforced that so much. And Matthew was such a sweet guy. No one deserved what happened to him. He was tortured. he was pistol whipped, he was tied up to a fence post, and he was left for dead. And then he later did die. I hope that people understand that that was not an isolated incident, that incidents like that have happened to trans and gay people across this country time and time again since then, including here in Virginia. And I hope that people understand thoroughly that when we bring forward bills like this, we are simply saying that our mere existence is not provocation or reasonable provocation for someone to attack or kill us, and not have that charge, stand as anything less than a murder charge, because they often try to get it down to manslaughter or get it dismissed altogether. And so, I think that we are continuing to make a lot of progress here in the Commonwealth. I think with the new administration and the new Congress, we can make a lot of progress, nationwide. And at the same time, as more and more trans people across the country step up and run for office. In 2017, we had no out and seat trans state legislators. In 2018, when I was sworn in, we had one. In 2019, we had 4. And now we have 7, including the first out state senator in Sarah McBride, among trans legislators. So we are seeing our numbers increase. We are seeing representation in places where we might not have expected it, like the Wheeling City Council in West Virginia with Rosemary Ketchum, or Stephanie Byers in Kansas in the state legislature. If we can win in Kansas, we can win anywhere, right? And we even have, a non-binary Muslim person serving in Oklahoma in their state legislature, with Maureen Turner. So I like to think that we are continuing to assert who we are. We are continuing to demonstrate that this is our America too, and it's also our time to run it. And that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Delegate Roem. You are a trailblazer and a lot is happening, so we really appreciate your time with us today.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. Take care.